5901 is on our port bow.
The presence of the monster ship in our waters is illegal and inconsistent with the exercise of freedom of navigation and innocent passage.
Philippine Coast Guard's steadfast response underscores the nation's commitment to safeguarding its sovereignty and maritime rights. By upholding international law and asserting its entitlements under the 2016 Arbitral Award, the Philippines sends a clear message that unlawful incursions in its waters will not be tolerated. As tensions in the region persist, such vigilance remains essential to preserving peace, stability, and the rule of law in the South China Sea.
China Coast Guard Vessel 5901. This is Philippine Coast Guard Vessel BRP Gabriela C. OPV-8301.
The Philippine Coast Guard, PCG, took decisive action when the offshore patrol vessel BRP Gabriela Silang intercepted a Chinese Coast Guard, CCG vessel, identified as CCG 5901, off the coast of Zambales. The Chinese vessel, referred to as the Monster due to its size, was found operating unlawfully within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, EEZ.
You are advised that you are currently sailing within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone.
This incident occurred as the BRP Teresa Magbanua underwent minor repairs in Bataan, prompting the deployment of the BRP Gabriela Silang to ensure maritime security. The PCG reported on Friday that the BRP Gabriela Silang successfully challenged the larger Chinese vessel, compelling it to remain at least 70 nautical miles from the Zambales coastline. In a series of radio communications, PCG personnel reminded the CCG that its presence within Philippine waters constitutes a violation of the Philippine Maritime Zones Act, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, and the 2016 Arbitral Award.
The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, of which you were a party, and the 2016 Arbitral Award, you do not possess any legal authority to patrol within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone.
The landmark ruling invalidated China's sweeping claims over the South China Sea and reaffirmed the Philippines' sovereign rights in the region. Tracking data revealed that the movements of CCG 5901 were inconsistent with UNCLOS principles, which recognize freedom of navigation but do not permit unlawful patrols or coercive actions in another nation's EEZ. The PCG emphasized that China must respect the Philippines' maritime entitlements if it genuinely seeks to foster mutual trust and reduce tensions in the disputed waters. Despite the Chinese Coast Guard's claims of peaceful intentions, the Philippines continues to assert that such activities are incompatible with international law and bilateral agreements. The PCG reiterated its unwavering commitment to protecting the country's sovereign rights, emphasizing that these efforts are backed by domestic legislation and international maritime law. The 2016 Arbitral Award, which remains binding on both the Philippines and China, provides clear affirmation of the Philippines' maritime entitlements within the South China Sea. The PCG stressed that this ruling leaves no room for ambiguity regarding territorial rights in the contested waters. Friday marked the 14th consecutive day of the PCG's vigilant monitoring of CCG 5901's activities.
Vessel 8301. This is China Coast Guard, Vessel 5901. Please comply with international regulations for preventing collisions at sea.
The Philippine government remains firm in its stance that actions like these are critical to maintaining sovereignty and protecting its maritime zones. The South China Sea is more than just a huge body of water. It is a vital conduit for international trade and financial stability. It links the Pacific and Indian Oceans and spans more than 3.5 million square kilometers, making it easier to transport products between Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. This is one of the most commercially significant areas in the world, handling around 1/3 of the world's maritime traffic, which totals over $3 trillion yearly. In addition to trade, the South China Sea is abundant in natural resources, such as an estimated 190 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and 11 billion barrels of undiscovered oil. The South China Sea is a complex web of overlapping territorial claims involving China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. Each nation asserts historical or geographic reasons for its sovereignty over parts of the region, especially critical areas such as the Spratly Islands, Paracel Islands, and Scarborough Shoal. The Philippines asserts its rights under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, which grants exclusive economic zones extending 200 nautical miles from a country's coastline. However, these claims often overlap, creating diplomatic friction and occasional confrontations. At the heart of the dispute is China's expansive claim over nearly the entire South China Sea, demarcated by its so-called New 10-Dash Line. This claim, first introduced in 1947, encompasses approximately 90% of the waterway, overlapping with the exclusive economic zones of several Southeast Asian nations. China argues its historical presence and ancient maps justify its claims, despite conflicting interpretations of international law. However, in 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague ruled that China's 9-dash line had no legal basis under UNCLOS, a decision Beijing outright rejected.
Chinese people will not accept the result, and all people around the world who uphold justice will not accept the result. China's non-acceptance and non-participation is to safeguard the international rule of law and regional rules. Now the farce is over. It's time to get back to the right track. China has taken note of the signals from the Philippine government that is willing to resume discussion with China over the South China Sea issue.
China has since continued to assert its dominance through militarization, including the construction of artificial islands and military installations in disputed areas, further straining relations with neighboring countries. The South China Sea remains a volatile flashpoint, where competing national interests, historical grievances, and strategic ambitions collide, raising concerns over the potential for conflict in one of the world's most vital maritime corridors. The 2012 Scarborough Shoal standoff marked a pivotal moment in the South China Sea dispute, bringing tensions between the Philippines and China to a dangerous peak. The confrontation erupted when Philippine naval forces attempted to apprehend Chinese fishing vessels accused of illegally harvesting endangered species in the lagoons surrounding Scarborough Shoal, a traditional Filipino fishing ground within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, EEZ. In response, China dispatched maritime patrol vessels, blocking Philippine authorities from making arrests and asserting its dominance over the area. For weeks, both nations engaged in a tense maritime standoff, with naval and Coast Guard vessels shadowing each other in a show of force. The presence of Chinese ships effectively barred Filipino fishermen from accessing the rich fishing grounds they had long depended on for their livelihoods, causing significant economic hardship for local communities. Despite diplomatic efforts, China's continued presence and overwhelming naval capabilities forced the Philippines into a reluctant withdrawal, allowing China to assume de facto control over the shoal. In the aftermath of the 2012 standoff, the Philippines took a bold legal step by filing a case against China at the Permanent Court of Arbitration, PCA, in The Hague, challenging Beijing's sweeping 9-dash line claim. After years of deliberation, the tribunal ruled in favor of the Philippines in July 2016, declaring China's expansive claims in the South China Sea, including its occupation of Scarborough Shoal, legally baseless under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. The ruling also reaffirmed the Philippines' sovereign rights within its exclusive economic zone, highlighting that China's actions violated international law. China outright rejected the tribunal's decision, labeling it null and void. while refusing to participate in the arbitration process from the outset. Beijing's defiance underscored its broader rejection of the rule-based international order as it continued to reinforce its presence around Scarborough Shoal and other disputed areas through militarization and the deployment of maritime militia forces. The 2012 standoff and China's dismissal of the 2016 ruling continue to symbolize the ongoing struggle for maritime sovereignty in the South China Sea, where Beijing's aggressive tactics threaten not only the Philippines but the stability of the entire region. Tensions in the South China Sea increased in December 2024 as a big Chinese Coast Guard ship, a Type 818 cutter, made aggressive maneuvers close to Scarborough Shoal. The Chinese ship allegedly approached Filipino fishing and patrol boats dangerously close, coming within 77 nautical miles of the Philippine shore. In order to impede the passage of Philippine vessels, witnesses said the Chinese ship used intimidation techniques, such as water cannons and dangerous blocking maneuvers. Chinese government representatives defended these measures by restating their long-standing stance and claiming indisputable sovereignty over the region. According to a spokesman for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Scarborough Shoal is a natural feature of Chinese land. In order to protect our sovereignty and maritime rights, our Coast Guard is authorized to operate in these areas.
中国在南海的主权和相关权利是在长期的历史过程中形成的，具有充分的历史和法理依据，符合国际法和国际实践。中国海警在相关海域巡航执法，合理合法，无可非议。中方敦促菲方停止恶意炒作。
The Philippine government responded with strong condemnation. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. expressed deep concern over China's actions, stating, "We will not allow our sovereignty to be violated." The Philippines is committed to defending its territorial waters and ensuring the safety of our fishermen. National Security Advisor Eduardo Año echoed this sentiment, emphasizing, "China's aggressive maneuvers are pushing the Philippines to the wall. We are considering all options to protect our national interests, including the possibility of international legal action." In a demonstration of resolve, the Philippines has increased the presence of its Coast Guard vessels in contested waters, conducting regular patrols to assert its rights. The Philippines has been strengthening defense ties with key allies. Notably, an enhanced defense cooperation agreement with the United States has been reinforced, facilitating joint military exercises and greater strategic collaboration. This trilateral cooperation, including Japan, aims to bolster regional security in the face of China's assertive behavior. In response to China's assertive actions in the South China Sea, the Philippines has been strengthening its security alliances with nations such as the United States, Japan, and Australia. These partnerships serve as a strategic counterbalance to China's growing influence in the region. A tangible demonstration of this collaboration occurred on April 7, 2024, when the defense forces of the Philippines, United States, Japan, and Australia conducted a maritime cooperative activity within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. This joint exercise underscored the collective commitment to regional security and the enforcement of international maritime laws. Further solidifying these ties, the United States hosted the inaugural U.S.-Japan-Philippines Leaders Summit in April 2024. This historic meeting emphasized the importance of trilateral cooperation in addressing unlawful and destabilizing actions in the South China Sea, reinforcing a united front against coercive behaviors.
And I want to be clear, the United States defense commitments to Japan and to the Philippines are ironclad. They're ironclad. As I've said before, any attack on Philippine aircraft, vessels, or armed forces in the South China Sea would invoke our Mutual Defense Treaty.
Today's historic summit is a culmination of several preparatory engagements between our foreign ministries, our national security advisors, and our vice ministers, as well as the conduct of trilateral maritime exercises and joint development cooperation.
The Philippines has also been enhancing its defense coordination with Japan and Australia. Discussions have focused on increasing intelligence sharing, conducting joint military drills, and exploring technology transfers. These efforts aim to develop a regional security framework capable of deterring further aggression and maintaining stability in the Indo-Pacific region. The intensification of military activities and assertive posturing by involved parties heighten the risk of miscalculations or accidental escalations in the South China Sea. Incidents such as close encounters between naval vessels or unauthorized military exercises could inadvertently trigger broader conflicts. The United States has reaffirmed its commitment to the Indo-Pacific region, emphasizing the importance of freedom of navigation and adherence to international laws. Any armed confrontation involving the Philippines could potentially invoke mutual defense treaties, compelling U.S. involvement. Such a scenario would likely prompt allied nations, including Japan and Australia, to participate, significantly broadening the scope of the conflict. In the face of escalating tensions in the South China Sea, the Philippines is committed to exploring all options to protect its maritime rights, balancing diplomatic, legal, and military approaches. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has emphasized that the country will not shy away from defending its sovereign rights and will continue to pursue both peaceful and assertive strategies. One of the key steps the Philippines is taking is strengthening its maritime law enforcement capabilities. This includes increasing the presence of the Philippine Coast Guard in contested waters, enhancing surveillance systems, and improving response times to incidents involving foreign vessels. This enhanced presence not only asserts the Philippines' rights, but also discourages further violations by other parties in the region. The Philippines is looking to boost its defense spending to improve military readiness. This includes procuring advanced weaponry and modernizing its armed forces, with particular attention to acquiring assets capable of countering China's growing naval and air presence in the region. The Philippines is also deepening its regional alliances, particularly with the United States, Japan, and Australia. These partnerships are crucial for ensuring that the Philippines is not isolated in the face of rising Chinese aggression, and that it has the support of powerful allies in the event of conflict. The Philippine Coast Guard's steadfast response underscores the nation's commitment to safeguarding its sovereignty and maritime rights. By upholding international law and asserting its entitlements under the 2016 Arbitral Award, the Philippines sends a clear message that unlawful incursions in its waters will not be tolerated. As tensions in the region persist, such vigilance remains essential to preserving peace, stability, and the rule of law in the South China Sea. Thank you for tuning into our channel. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of global issues.